to tell me that we're live. It does appear that we're live now. How you doing, man?
Cool, man. So yeah, I haven't talked to you in a while. We both had some out of town excursions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we didn't have a guest tonight. We're just gonna pop on live. If anyone hops in, we'll kind of address any questions or topics people have. But um, I don't think we've talked in any episodes so far about your trip to where'd you go? You went to Indiana, right?
Oh, yeah. When I went to Fillmore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, how'd that
yeah,
go?
we could start off with that. Yeah, that was. I guess we touched on it a little bit in the last podcast. Um, where now I think I was mentioning just like looking up at the stars or something along those lines with it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But dude, it was awesome. It was just like being out in nature and needing a reset, and um, it really just helped like give me a refresher. And I came back from it with like brand new energy that I haven't really had in a while. So um, I don't know. I think I mentioned just to everybody to get outside more.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's hard to do that when you're in a city and everybody has to wear masks outside, and like it's like almost there's incentive not to go outside. It's
Hmm.
like you're in the comfort of your own place. So being able to go outside, I was extremely grateful. My uh, sister-in-law's family's property that we were at, and amazing.
Hmm.
Like acres of land, a pond. We could go swimming, we could go fishing, paddle boarding, canoeing, kayaking, all the stuff, and um, campfires at night. And I mean, the best part probably was the fact that I was with like my two brothers and their loved ones as well. But it was just a magical time, and I don't know. It's definitely it's kind of guided my compass now towards like trying to figure out when to trip, and trying to figure
Hmm.
out ways to get back out into nature and kind of resetting everything again, because I realized that I haven't the energy I've been taking in has kind of been stale. I don't know.
Hmm.
And I actually talked to Will about this yesterday, the Cosmic Giggle, and we both were agreeing that like there's a time after a measurable period of time between trips that the energy can just get stale.
Oh, yeah.
And I think being outside is the natural remedy if you have the opportunity to be outside on a daily basis. I don't necessarily have that opportunity. I can go outside for runs and walks, but I'm not out in nature. Um, so I think the heads on approach is doing a trip. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It was just awesome, man. And like it's weird because I know you experience it frequently when you're out in New York. It's a commonality for you even at your work. Um, but it's so rare to me that it's just like a surge of energy and new appreciation and gratitude for things that I haven't thought about in a while, and really all good positive things.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. Well, I'm not a city boy anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely in times like these and with everything going on right now, I can't imagine living in a city like you do,
Yeah.
or other people that listen to this, like I I I'm very grateful that I live within, relative ease of accessing cities if I, want to, uh, uh, you know, eat at fancy hipster restaurants or go to sporting events or whatever, people would do in downtown Cincinnati or Dayton. I'm kind of equidistant between the two. Um, but that I'm in the suburbs where, like, my kids can play street hockey out in the street and, and whatever. But then I'm very grateful also to have, yeah, access to my property where, I can go walk around naked and take a piss off the porch if I want to and whatever, like um, it's pretty amazing. But definitely, yeah, like going through times like this where like, you know, you want to be around the fewest people possible is the way
Yeah,
to
yeah.
not only stay safe for the virus, but stay sane from just the craziness that, everybody's just so fed up with one thing or another. It's like whether you're, you know, uh, liberal or conservative or, think that 5G is causing this or whatever, is going
Hmm.
on. Like everybody's fed up with something right now. And, I don't want to be fed up with anything, and so uh, getting away from people that are fed up with something, I think, is super important right now. And that's what my wife and I have been trying to do. We've uh, gone up twice to New York this summer. Once with my family, and then once with some friends. Um, and like we're just trying to share that experience with people, like that's all I can do. Like I wish I had the means uh to make it an actual camp right now or something like that, but I don't. But what I can do is share what I consider to be a really important experience right now with people, of just like, yeah, getting out in nature, fucking turning your goddamn phone off,
Yeah, yeah,
at
yeah.
least for a couple hours a day, you know. Um, because like you said, I get that experience at work to where like, I spend the morning kind of scrolling through Twitter and Facebook and whatever, and then just like getting like caught up in news and links and watching videos and being like, look at this asshole yelling at someone and they videotaped him and they got fired, and look at this dickhead cop doing something, or whatever, and just like following all this stuff. And then after procrastinating long enough, I get out in the woods for work, and it's like, ah, fuck. Okay, and I leave my phone behind. It's like, ah, shit. None of that fucking shit matters. My whole morning that I was just like prepping myself for this uh reality, like it isn't it isn't reality. It's like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
narrative that someone's trying to tell me is reality. And this fucking tree, these ticks, these mosquitoes, this is reality. And yeah, it's just super important.
Yeah, to
I mean,
unplug.
there's definitely benefits to city life, and don't get me wrong. I don't want to sound like some, you know, uh, country boy on my high horse here, but there's, that's the real battle right now. Everybody's having an existential crisis, right? And and the best way that I have found to deal with an existential crisis is to immerse yourself in the reality of the fact that we're just part of an ecosystem, and I think that's what the connection to nature is realizing like, damn, I'm just part of this shit, just like this plant is, just like this bug is, just like that deer is,
Hmm.
and that's a very psychedelic thing, and it doesn't require psychedelics help you like fucking snap out and like stop, your tunnel vision and be like, oh shit, that's right, um but like that's the key, and that's what my whole like goal with like whatever part in the world of environmental education I'm going to play going forward, like that's the message, that I want to get across, and want people to like have at least one um glass shattering moment where they're like, oh shit, like humans are just a piece of the puzzle. We're not we're not in charge,
Yeah, yeah. Well, and what you said about like you preparing for reality or whatever, like that is incredibly true. Where I think you can digest so much on your phone. I don't. There's a lot of good that can come out of social media and being connected and everything, but you can digest so much on your phone that you think that is the reality. But then
Yeah.
there's so many things that show up that it's like this isn't the reality. Like if if Twitter was true culture and wasn't a separate thing, Trump wouldn't be president. Like Bernie would be
Yeah.
president. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, so it's like reality kind of shows its hands in that regard, and it's just like, no, this is just its own little bubble, and it's like whether it be bots or whatever, the numbers make you feel like it is the reality, which is so fucked up.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, part of that trip was I turned off my phone for. I didn't have it off, but I didn't use it until like the third day I was there. I was there for 4 days, so like didn't use it for until the third day I was there, and then on the third day I checked it once, and then the fourth day I only checked it once, and like
Yeah.
that, there's no like doubt in my mind that that had a great effect on the overall experience. You know, I felt like
Yeah.
I was able to become more of myself. Oddly enough, I know it was definitely the people that I was around, but like not hearing constant criticism of others on those platforms, I think allowed me to remove my inner dialogue's ability to do that sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I mean, it's like I know phones are here to stay,
Yeah,
and
of
I have this
course.
argument with my son all the time. But it's like it's this insanely just the internet in general, but especially having the entire internet in our pocket at all times. Having Google for brains, all of these things, and like and social media, you always have to feel connected. Like if you send a link that was like a tweet from yesterday, like people will be like, yeah, what the fuck, I read that yesterday, like that kind of like thing. Like you always got to be on it. And you know
Yeah.
uh I think those are all elements of like we don't fully understand um how powerful that this tool is that we have in our pocket. And it's like I think, yeah, I mean, you grew up without that,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I definitely grew up without that. I
Yeah.
grew up with dial-up internet. And it's like until our age people like kind of get over and figure out how to use this and how to
Mhm.
manage it. Uh, it's going to be such a distraction and such a cause of depression, anxiety, and stuff like that. Um, to where I have a lot of like old man moments where I'm like yelling at my son about, you kids and your goddamn phones, like kind of thing. And but they manage it so much better, because it's just a thing. It's just whatever,
Yeah.
like it's uh
It's like watching
I
TV to you.
right, like parents when I was a kid used to be like, "You kids play Nintendo so much, you get Nintendo neck, where like your neck will hurt from watching TV," And it's like, okay, like now video games are insane.
Yeah.
It's totally different. That like Nintendo neck is the worst, or is the least of your worries with what Fortnite does to your brain and your dopamine system and whatever. But they handle it better, to where I have that like you kids are going to get Nintendo neck moment all the time when I'm like upset about that they're always, playing Fortnite or whatever, but like they handle it a lot better. They handle not having it a lot better. Like all I have to do is just turn the Xbox off and they're like, okay, I'll go outside and play.
Yeah, yeah.
So where like I already worked up this whole narrative of like all you kids do is play video games and it's ruining your brain or whatever. And so it's all of this stuff. I guess what I was getting at there is like all this stuff, like we will manage better, but I think it's important for us that are like in this transition state from like not having the internet in our pocket to having the internet in our pocket. Um, it's in our best interest to capture as many moments without that tool as we can, because we're like the last people that are going to remember the internet not being an essential utility.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, being able to turn it off and to manage it is just the key, cuz I mean, I use it, it's part of my business, so it's like
Yeah.
I feel I've always lived online. Like it's so strange, but ever since I was in high school, like we had dial up before then, and then we got DSL. Um, And then from that point on, I was like playing video games online, building websites, like, and it just kind of, it's just a part of my life. And I think I've learned to manage it alongside that. But like now with COVID, it's kind of definitely kind of overtook my time during this.
Yeah.
And to the point that, I'm on Twitch or whatever. But the good thing is that I've kind of turned it into a good thing. I've started taking online courses and just like furthering skills and developing new skills so that I can market myself and make more money once this is all said and done. So I think
Yeah.
there's definitely like that's also part of the management. Like turning it off is part of the management, but using it to your advantage. Like you were saying, it's a tool. And
Yeah.
like knowing that it's a tool and knowing how to use the tool is essential. Like,
Yeah.
it's what's needed right now, I think.
Yeah.
Because if I look at my top 5 visited websites, it's what Reddit, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and like Amazon. It's like I don't go very much outside of those, and when I do, it's from one of those.
Yeah. Like a
So
link or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, and there's so much on the internet. Like maybe part of your time could be spending a half hour exploring new sites and finding new blogs and new points of perspective that you can learn from. But I think like
Yeah.
all that it comes with a critical thinking mindset towards it all, and not just like accepting it as, oh, this is part of my day.
Yeah.
Like um, I don't know. I've been struggling with that too. Like especially with like Netflix, like just having it rolling, and it's like,
Yeah.
dude, what the fuck? Like, what am I doing with my time? I'm
Yeah.
doing nothing. Like, I could easily spend 3 hours on Netflix and watch a show that I've already seen 5 times over.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
Yeah.
like, dude, I need to start spending my time more valuably.
Yeah. I've been really like, uh, I realized I have kind of neglected the musical side of myself, that like,
Same here, man.
I'm in a band. We get together on Wednesday nights and drink beer and do a couple shots of mezcal and, like play 5 songs,
Yeah.
whatever. Like we spend more time hanging out than we do playing. But um like out of the blue, well, actually before COVID hit, like back in March or February, an old friend of mine that like we've never officially been in a band together, but we've been in bands that played together, and like for a while he was dating one of my wife's friends, and we've just kind of been in the music scene and friends, but never in a band together or whatever. Uh, like he was looking for a lead guitar player for this project he's been doing, so like he wanted to get together before COVID, and then so we've just gotten to the point where like they're kind of all comfortable hanging out again.
Okay. Yeah.
And so like I'm gonna join another band and and kind of see what's going on with them. uh but then also, like you're saying, I found myself like I'm watching the Sopranos series for the fifth time through, and it's like, okay, so instead of wasting that 2 hours a night, like why don't I go play guitar and try to learn a new guitar scale, or uh fuck with a new pedal or whatever, and it's so I've been trying to like kind of do more stuff like that. I've also been trying to like listen to music more because I realized, uh, I've just gotten so much into podcasts, and
Uh-huh.
just that's all I listen to. I listen to 8 hours of podcasts a day, which inspires me to do podcast stuff, right? Um, but when I was at my highest like musical output of creativity, well, I was listening to music all the time, and like that,
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
inspired me to make music. So I've been trying to kind of like split up like my at work listening to like half podcast, half music. Um, so I've just been trying to like have that kind of focus. That's one reason like I haven't made like a video in a couple weeks and stuff like that, is like I haven't really been motivated to like do any output. I've been trying to like manage the input, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think we've talked about that probably not too long ago on a podcast too, about the breathing in and breathing out of the creative process. Um, so I've been just trying to manage my breathing in, and that breathing, because I don't want that breathing in to be like what we were just talking about, like, oh my God, look at this crazy COVID statistic and whatever, and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this,
This
check out
police
this lady who,
brutality.
yeah, check out this lady who threw a temper tantrum because she didn't want to wear, just the nonsense that like everybody's
Yeah.
enamored with right now. Like, I don't want that to be me, and I find myself going down those paths, and I have to like intervene.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you were talking about with Will, like, um, yeah, the psychedelic experience is the best way to do that,
Yeah.
because if you're trying to steer uh, a battleship that is your inspiration, the best way to change course is to teleport. so so like, the psychedelic experience I definitely recommend for people that uh, can do that right now. That's probably the best way to manage that.
Yeah.
However, for me, that just it isn't in the cards right now. Like, I thought I was going to do it last week, and it just didn't work out. And it's just so much timing that goes into like just my situation with kids and family and age and and everything. Like, it's just tough for me. But I know that's around the corner. Like, I know it's very necessary for me. I'm at that point. Like, I think the first start of the COVID era of the world, I was like, I don't know how I could fucking trip right now. I was too
Same.
anxious and
Same.
whatever. But now I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, I'm not scared of this. I understand, what's going on, uh, and I'm sick of seeing how everyone else is acting, and their energy's kind of dragging me with them, and I need to hop on a different path, and so like I definitely feel the need for that psychedelic experience, and I have faith that it will rear its head when the time is right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, and that's kind of how it is. That's you kind of let it happen naturally, and that you kind of reap the best results
Yeah.
when that happens. We actually got some questions though.
Okay.
Uh, I have not heard of this. I know you listen to the Rogan podcast a decent amount, but have you heard about Brett Weinstein's Unity 2020 plan? If yeah, what are your thoughts on it? He last talked about it on JRE, and recently it's been on the news.
Yeah.
What is
Um.
that? I haven't heard about it.
Yeah. I actually just heard. I listened to a podcast, "What Bitcoin Did" with Pete McCormick, which is a very good like crypto podcast for people to listen to. Um. So like, I think the best podcast for people to listen to that are just starting to like want to find out more about crypto
Mm-hmm.
is Anthony Pompliano. The next best is What Bitcoin Did, and yeah, he was the last guest on there, Brett Weinstein, and he was on Rogan, and he was on Eric Weinstein's podcast. I heard him on there, which is I really like his podcast. It's like probably there's a lot of it where like I realize after like 30 minutes I'm like, I don't know what these two motherfuckers just said. Like like I listen to most podcasts on 1.5 speed, but like Brett and Eric Weinstein, I can't listen to it that fast because they're too smart.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but so Brett Weinstein, background to him, he was a professor at Evergreen College, and kind of the birthplace of the fake woke culture, or just woke culture, whatever you want to call it, of you know calling everything under the sun racist, um, started there, and to the point where they wanted to have like a segregated day where every white student and every white or faculty member didn't come to school for a day at this college. And um, Brett Weinstein and his wife took a stand and were like, "Are you kidding? That's the most racist thing I've ever heard." You
Mm-hmm.
know, uh, and they were going out, they were harassing black, like anti-racist people were harassing black science majors because saying like they were supporting racist institutions. like stuff like that. And so that's what like Brett and his wife were standing up to. Like they just support science, you know, and they don't want to see like the they don't want to see the like racist witch hunt like
Yeah.
derail science, you know. And so yeah, he was like, I'm not gonna stay home, and he showed up for class, and then like a mob formed to hunt him down, to beat him up with baseball bats, and this all ended up with him and his wife getting fired from this college. And so that like was his like kind of he jumped the chasm from biologist to kind of a social theorist or philosopher or something like that from that. And so he gives an evolutionary biology slant on like social issues and unrest that's going on. And so that is culminated in this Unity 2020 project that is, you know, he's determining, which I agree with, that the two-party system is what is killing this country. That the political party has more power than any candidate, than any person, you know, and that government is supposed to represent the people. And he says he's not a libertarian, you know, like he believes in government, but he believes that it should have a strategic and light touch, and that the party, the political party, you know, ruins that. And I've been saying for a while that political parties are cults, you know, that it like that's why we have this thing every 4 years, every 2 years, I guess, where you vote and throw your support behind the lesser of two evils. For generations, we've had the lesser of two evils. That's what everybody says. And if you say you're not going to vote or you're going to vote third party, what does everyone say? You're throwing your vote away, you know? And so, but then if you say that you're going to support someone opposite or the party opposite of what the person you're talking to supports, well, then they say you're an idiot and you're stupid and brainwashed and sheep and whatever. So, you know, I agree that the two-party system is the problem. And so his Unity 2020 project is to right now, like this election, not next election, is to amplify that cry for a non-party candidate. Like he wants a third-party candidate that doesn't have a party, is what he's trying to do and trying to find. And he doesn't know who that is and who that should be. But he's trying to get everybody that feels that fucking, anybody who's like, fuck both parties. I don't give a shit. Like, why do I have to vote for, you know, who's the least rapey out of the 80-year-old guys they throw in front of me? You know, like, why is that?
Honestly.
You know, like at a time where we really need leadership, why do we have the two worst candidates that you could ever pick? When our last election was the two worst candidates you could ever pick. And now it's even worse. And so, yeah, that's what it is to try to amplify that signal.
Okay.
To find an actual candidate and to fund that through cryptocurrency. Like that's why he was on the What Bitcoin Did podcast.
Gotcha.
Sorry if I didn't connect that dot, but that's why he was on there, is that like he knows through, you know, his brother Eric Weinstein is part of Teal Capital, like, you know, he's in the investment world, and he speaks on cryptocurrency quite a bit. I think he's a big proponent of Ethereum and stuff like that, and so Brett is the same way. And he's like, I don't really understand the technical aspect, but he's like, I definitely, like, it's not a question of if, but it's when cryptocurrency and blockchain are going to like drastically alter society through the financial world. And so that's the tie-in with like I said, the What Bitcoin Did podcast, is he's trying to like get this movement, this hashtag out to all the arenas or cultures or whatever that can help and feel the call to like fuck this lesser of two evils thing, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
I wonder if enough people would get behind that though. Like that's you need a lot of people to
yeah,
kind
and it's
of
probably a
get
little
away
too
from it all.
late.
Yeah. I mean, you could always go with Kanye.
Yeah, you know. Yeah,
We got a follow up to that saying that he included Andrew Yang in his choice for the center left.
oh yeah. So that was the other thing. Never mind. I don't think he's looking for a candidate. He's looking for a team. And he like wants to have like, this is the entire cabinet. This is what we're doing, and like that there will be. It's not, you're not voting for a president. You're voting for a plan. Um, and so yeah, Andrew Yang. I mean, and that's it. And it's like you said, you only go to like 5 different websites,
Yeah.
but you find other things through those. Well, I'm the same way. And because I listen to like a ton of podcasts, like I hear all these people that are on, Rogan's like the nucleus for
Mm-hmm.
sure. And that's not because I'm some alpha male. Like I don't listen to any of the fighting shit on there. Like I don't give a fuck about that,
Yeah, yeah.
And like I only listen to the certain comedians I like, but like the people he drags in that are way smarter than anyone else I hear yelling about bullshit. I end up going like, oh, they have a podcast. I'll check that out. And then so like, yeah, Andrew Yang, and the Weinsteins and um, Jocko Willnick and like stuff like that. Like I'm like finding all these people that all have like this kind of common core of belief and value systems. That I think really represent a sea change of philosophy in America at least, but definitely the world. And it's this weird mixture of like left and right ideals
Mm-hmm.
when we're talking politics. And I do think that like that, yeah, like you can't and shouldn't call it a political party, but I think there's this common ground of all these people that um, if the Democratic Party would have went with Andrew Yang, like they probably or Tulsi Gabbard, I think those are the two candidates that were running for the Democratic nomination that could have pulled from that common core.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, just kidding. Here's Joe Biden again. You liked him, right? Remember that one time we had that debate with Rand Paul or whatever. Like, and it's like, what? Yeah, like you guys missed the fucking point here. Like there was energy to push against the bullshit we're the bullshit leadership we have right now, and just because of the two-party system, they're like, well, yeah, we know we really we know you really have this energy going towards change, but why don't we just go back to what we had before this, because this is really bad right now, right? So what we had before wasn't that bad, right? And that's kind of like that's the campaign slogan for the Democratic Party right now.
Yeah.
So that's what he's trying to do. I don't know. I think it's a great idea and it's way too late.
Yeah. Well, I mean, any of those good political ideas kind of get started during like an election cycle, and then the next election cycle or the one after that is when you kind of really see it. Like just like what is that guy from the guy running? Mayor Pete. Like just like him running now solidifies him as a solid candidate somehow 4 years from now or 8 years from now. It's the same thing with Andrew Yang presenting UBI and having that idea being something that we vote for in 4 or 8 years, right? So him presenting this new idea that almost seems too natural and smart. It could be something later on down the road that we can all agree on. What I don't get though is like how there's still so many people that subscribe to a two-party system. Like I almost feel like it's rigged to an extent. Like voting is rigged to an extent. Like I'm like, how is this many people still voting for a Democrat or Republican when the choices are this bleak? Like I don't understand it. And I mean, I understand that my circle that I surround myself with is probably the most anti-political people to an extent. So I do get that my perspective's jaded on that. But it's
Yeah.
still, it's just like, wait, there's still 50 million people in this country voting for Hillary or whoever it was, you know. And it's just like doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's two things. One, it's peer pressure. And two, it's cult mentality, hive mind, you know, like cults do this. Like that's why I'm not exaggerating that a political party is a cult.
Yeah.
Uh, you know,
I think it's like the
like
new religion.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. You know, Trump has shit on the face of most of the people that would like support him right now, and they'll lap it up. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen people that friends and family that I respect 6 months ago were like, Joe Biden, get the fuck out of here. And then now they're acting like he's got the coronavirus vaccine in his back pocket. You know, like it's a cult, and it's all peer pressure. You know, it's like I mean, speaking of cults, like I don't know if you remember the Heaven's Gate cult. Do you remember
No.
that? When was that? I think it was like early 2000s, and it was like there was the Hale-Bopp comet, which like circles the Earth every 100 years. So like every 100 years, you can see this comet in the sky. And it was this cult that started up that like the leader said that the spaceship from some planet was behind the comet, and every 100 years it picks up followers, the true believers, and takes them home and whatever.
Nice.
But yeah, but they have to kill themselves to get on the spaceship.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. And it was a real popular. They had to like shave their heads and wear the special jumpsuit and wear these shoes. They all had the same thing on. And what was funny is that the year that it was a big story, like this cult all committed mass suicide, and they showed pictures of them in their bunk beds, and the Reebok sneakers they had were like the best selling Reebok model or whatever that year because of like the advertising they got from this cult that committed mass suicide.
Ridiculous.
I thought that was a good example of mindless consumerism. They're like,
Yeah.
man, those tight, but anyway, it's like there was someone, or take any like cult that had mass suicide, the Jamestown cult and all that.
Yeah.
But there's someone that's like drinking that Kool-Aid that's like, fuck, this is such a stupid idea, but they do it anyway. It's like peer pressure, like blind belief. Like I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of people. And not making light of suicide like a cult is the same, like a committing mass suicide with a cult is the same as voting, but I'm just saying it's just like the same like thought process. There's gonna be a lot of people that go in to the voting booth and like go like, oh fuck, I can't believe I'm voting for Joe Biden, and they push the button. But anyway, and like, okay, but I don't know. I support the idea and the energy behind the Unity 2020 movement. I just don't think it'll make a difference,
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I'm being too pessimistic, and like I'll look more into it, and he is trying to just amplify the signal. Anyone who can do anything to like get it out there. So I'll probably make a video and move the hashtag along as far along as I can. I'm have a rather small sphere of influence, but I will do what I can,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'll throw my hat in the ring to be the candidate, Rubin 2020 for Unity, but I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. I think the system's just set up to be like super bleak. It just needs like an overhaul almost.
Well, and I've been saying this for a long time, since pre-COVID, about banking collapse and the deleveraging of the system, and a 10-year cycle of depression to kind of reset and redistribute wealth that was happening before coronavirus. And then it's like as soon as coronavirus hit, they were like so quick to be like, oh my God, it's here, let's lower interest rates and do all this. It's like they like we could have been wearing masks in March, bro,
Yeah,
like, but
yeah.
instead y'all were busy trying to save the market,
Save the
and
market
so,
and make their own money too. All the people
right.
that were
And
trying to save the market were trying to make money too.
yeah, so like I knew that was going to happen anyway. And I really think, and I've been saying this for a while, that like neither party wants to win this election, because they're going to have, whoever wins is going to have to own, the next Great Depression. And I don't know. I kind of feel like that's kind of what's up with the Biden move by the Democratic Party, is like they don't want to ruin any of their like candidates, like Andrew Yang, like Mayor Pete, or
Yeah.
whatever, any of the younger generation that should be running this country. Um, I don't think
I
that.
think it's just because he's like the only puppet like that
Yeah.
is he's a willing puppet. Like he wants the status. Um, but anyways, we got a question to get us back on the topic of, or back on a topic of psychedelics.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Good.
we got a question asking if we know about 434 Peter Hedren, and just what do we think about his message. Um, Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was in contact with him uh prior to him starting that channel. Um, he he had a YouTube channel where he had like some video about something. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't psychedelic related, and he, um, I can't remember what it was, but he had like several million views, and so he had contacted me about giving me pointers about how to like, grow your channel and
Gotcha.
whatever, and get stuff like that. But then he was also like, by the way, like, I really like your message. I My life was changed by psychedelic mushrooms, and he talks to entities and aliens and stuff like that. And then he was like, you've inspired me to like talk about psychedelics more, and then he started the 434 channel, and I mean it blew the fuck up, and
Hmm.
so like I I mean, we've talked several times and like sent voice mails back and forth and stuff like that. But once that 434 channel started off, um, it I don't know, he doesn't respond to emails anymore, and I'm sure it's because he gets a billion a day, and
Yeah.
whatever. I'd love to have him on the podcast, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're small potatoes as far as you know he is. His message, I don't know. I haven't watched many of his videos in a while, but I, you know, I don't know. He's awesome.
Yeah, I used to be like super about his videos, like always never missed one, that type of thing. Um I don't know. I find it like weird that there is, this is not me talking down on him at all. Like I just it's not something that I enjoy watching, is like when it's so direct and it's like, this is how you should do this type thing. You know how like all of his videos, like machine elves are telling me how to tell you to live type
Yeah,
videos. And
yeah, yeah,
and I mean, maybe it's 100% true, and maybe he's like the DMT Jesus, and we're the doubters, you know. But like, I don't know. I can't get. I'm not somebody that likes getting told how to live, so
yeah,
like hearing
yeah.
stuff like that is kind of unsettling. But no,
I
I love his videos. Like the editing's awesome. He definitely knows what he's doing. He's branding really well.
Oh yeah,
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 but to me, it's like leading the people that are looking for a leader. Like I don't want to use
yeah.
sheeple,
I
but it's like the people that are just there, ready and willing to consume. You know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's the thing, and it's I think that we've stayed true to my original like message idea and what the content I produce is about. I know that like I don't talk about psychedelics as much as I used to, and like I don't do them as much as I used to. Like there's more pressing areas of growth in my life, and I think the people that resonate with me and are inspired by messages I feel inspired to put out there, that don't necessarily include psychedelics. I always am an advocate for, independent thought, which I think psychedelics represent, that. Um, but also, you know, I, for whatever reason, you know, well, and also because I don't, use psychedelics as frequently as a lot of people that talk about, entities and the DMT aliens and whatever, the machine elves. Um, I don't talk about the machine elves because they don't talk to me for whatever reason that is, and that may be a negative or a positive. Um, I think that everyone is their own machine elf is the thing, and so that's a little different aspect of psychedelics. Like I want people to embrace their own machine elf and not to be constantly searching for, like you said, a leader or advice from this external entity. I don't believe that. Now, if I have some experience where I do experience that, maybe my view would change.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had some pretty intense experiences. I've had a lot of intent and respect for the medicine. And that's the message I've gotten. Is you are the creator. You are the God. You are the guide. It may represent itself as something that seems external, but in the end it's always internal. And so I guess that's as far as like why his channel would blow up and mine doesn't. I think it's not as entertaining of a notion.
Yeah.
Like to be like, oh wait, so I'm in control of all this. Like that's not an interesting message. The
Yeah.
interesting message is like, oh, and these aliens will tell you this, and they say that you're supposed to do this and love and blah 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 and whatever. And if you have a cool graphic, and whatever, and a nice intro and all these things, like I guess that as far as internet metrics and stuff that would grow a channel on YouTube or a podcast. Yeah, like I guess that's just more that fills that algorithm more. But I will say that like the community that we've grown, especially with our Discord and stuff like that, and the conversations I've had, and like that's one reason I like the podcast is it's us talking to one person. We're not telling anybody this is how it is. It's a conversation that you're listening in
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
with like two people that you could envision yourself listening to talk at a party. um that's the experience that we've recreated. And I will say that like those bonds are so strong. I mean, there's most of you on the Discord, like I'm like that's my fucking friend. I tell people like, yeah, I was talking to my friend the other day about this, but I'm talking about a fucking back and forth we had on the Discord server.
Yeah. I do the same
People that
thing.
I've never met in real life, and I'm like that's my friend now,
Yeah.
and so like I don't know. I don't know if he's getting that out of his type of channel.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know enough about it, like,
Yeah.
to really form a comment. Like, I just know my experience with his videos, and
Yeah.
that's what my take is.
Well, I guess, yeah, I guess, I'm not trying to be critical of his message without knowing what his message is, but that's just my take on it and why it's not in my feed. I don't watch his videos. Every
Yeah,
now and
yeah,
then
yeah,
it'll pop up and I'll be like, oh, and he's talking about machine elves again, It's like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. I
I
guess I
don't know.
don't know why there's so many people that are receptive to his message, um, but it is like you were saying how it's a message of top down, not like down. Like it's like from somewhere
Yeah.
external being passed along as like
Yeah.
listen to this, whereas it's
Yeah.
not like yo it's on you, why like you aren't doing it, like why
Yeah.
aren't you doing it,
Yeah. I think so. I just had a thought. Okay. So I think the appeal in the psychedelic community towards machine elf talk, whether that's Terrence, whether that's 434, whoever,
Mm-hmm.
insert machine elf person here, whatever you want to consider that. Um, it's escapism. I think there's a little bit of our psychology that it's escapism, that like, if you're awakening, if you're having a spiritual awakening, that means that you're like paying attention to what's going around, and you're like on a fucking, you know horse and buggy that's out of control,
Mm-hmm.
and like you have like two options. One is just like close your eyes and believe you're somewhere else, and be like, oh, the machine elves are in control or whatever. I'm not trying to talk shit about machine elves, but there's escapism of just like, this isn't real. There's other whatever. But then there's the other thing of like, no, you can take the reins here and steer this back to where you're supposed to be going, and like, I think that's what I'm trying to get at. I'm not saying I have those answers. I'm
Yeah.
just saying I'm trying to like figure out how to fucking run this 3D dimension life shit, and then I will try to figure out what the spirit guide, machine elf, alien, ghost, demon, ancestor, whatever. I mean, all these names are things of spirit guides, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But like, their message to you is like, try to how to fucking enjoy this very temporal thing called life.
Yeah.
It's not about trying to get away from life. It's not about, and we've talked about it before, it's like, people that do huge doses super frequently of psychedelics, they get this like superhuman god complex, to where regular life bores you, and it's like, or whatever. That's not what I'm trying to do. Like, I'm trying to like get the best out of every fucking moment, and defeat depression and anxiety and animosity and guilt and jealousy and all these feelings that we have as we go through life with other people, how we relate with our community and our society.
Yeah.
And there's other people in the psychedelic community that want to leave all that shit in the dust, and that's fine too.
Yeah.
And they're the people that fucking leave negative comments on my first video I ever made, and don't follow the rabbit hole and find, and jump on the train of this journey that's evolving of, trying to figure shit out and be happy.
Yeah. That's the end goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got another question, and it's weird because I was actually watching this right before we started recording, or right before we went live. But did you guys see Jordan Peterson's benzo recovery story on his daughter's podcast? What are your thoughts on anxiety, benzo crisis, and how psychedelics could help? I actually was watching that. I watched like the first 15 minutes, and I was like about to get deep into the woods of the conversation, and then we started this up. So I'm definitely going to catch back up on that. Did you watch that yet?
I have not watched that, but I mean, I heard about what he's going through though.
Yeah. I mean, the anxiety issue is horrible right now. Like, the benzo issue is horrible right now, and it's being propped up by popular culture, which is a shame.
Mm-hmm.
And it is highly addictive and something that people turn to when there's alternatives out there that don't even require a substance, meditation, and whatnot. Like, I haven't experienced a long spell of severe anxiety, so I can't speak on that. I've had
Yeah.
short little bursts of anxiety that I'm able to calm myself down on. But the willingness and promotion fiscally of our doctors to prescribe these things is just like freaking horrible, man. There's
Yeah.
there is no other way to say it but horrible. It's the same thing along the lines of opiates.
Yeah. Well, well, I mean, definitely as far as
And
like
it's
how like,
younger. Benzos are for
yeah,
young, like the youth are like,
yeah,
youth aren't really getting the opiates.
yeah,
That's more down the line. Like, the youth are the ones getting like the Adderalls and the benzos and all that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, as far as like with Jordan Peterson, I can't imagine what it's like being someone of his um level of, exposure, fame, whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
with radical, you know, ideas and values that blur the lines of like what we were talking about with parties, like the left and the right, like Jordan Peterson says stuff that some liberals would be like, hell yeah. And then says other stuff that'll be like, that guy needs to get every book he's ever written burned,
Yeah.
like, and vice versa with conservative people on how they feel about him. And if are someone like him that's trying to get a message out there and educate people and guide people, it, seeing, it would just take one night of reading the comments to just really feel awful and anxious. And I'm sure he gets death threats every fucking day in his email, and stuff like that. And it's a level of anxiety that it's not surprising that he ended up taking benzos. Like
Hmm.
that's like they prescribe that for people with much less reason to have anxiety. Um, but I do think like he probably could have handled it without taking benzos by just being like, "Hey, peace out, y'all. I'll see you in 6 months."
Yeah.
They'll be
Yeah.
back. The podcast, appearances and
Yeah. He was
the
all over the
the
place.
the book speeches, like they'll have you back in 6 months. Take 6 months and go to the fucking jungle and do ayahuasca and fucking travel the world and like go to places where nobody's gonna know who you are and don't have a phone with you. And he I imagine he would have the money to pull something like that off. Um, because I mean, well, I guess that's what he did for the treatment, right? Didn't he go to Siberia or something?
I'm not sure. I didn't. I
I'm
honestly
pretty sure he
didn't.
went to like a rehab place in Russia or something like that.
Okay.
Um, but I'm just saying he could have like preemptively, uh, nipped that in the bud by just being like, "Peace out, guys," for a little bit,
Yeah. I
and
know
and
there
and
was like when I was watching the podcast, there were like internal family issues as well. Like I know his wife was going through health complications too, and
yeah,
it wasn't all celebrity, but he was saying it was just like five things
hmm
coincidentally happening at the same time, and then
oh yeah,
it blew the fuse.
oh I get it. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel that way about like just my little fucking meaningless existence, like of like fuck, just take one goddamn thing off my plate, please, kind of
Golf cart
scenario
goes in
that.
the pond.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, um, yeah, but yeah, for anyone that I haven't been texting with, they for the 4th of July, I spent my 4th of July trying to learn how to repair a golf cart that was submerged in water. Some friends of mine in my place in New York took our golf cart out for a ride and ended up rolling it over into our neighbor's pond. And so, yeah, my like get away from it all, vacation for the 4th of July weekend ended up being a banging on shit with a wrench day. But um, yeah, it's like I don't know.
I mean,
I
there's
think
also people that do get great help from these medications when used responsibly. So I'm not trying to put them down either. It's like
right.
it's a weird
Well,
space to navigate.
because and we talked about this with Arcturus or
Yeah.
when we were talking about the ketamine therapy, that it's like the standard Prozac benzo treatment protocol was developed to go with people that had certain chemical imbalances in their brain, but that's probably like 20% at best of people that are prescribed these things,
Hmm.
that actually have that chemical imbalance. And everyone else, it's just a fucking drug, man. It's just a legal drug that a doctor gave you a piece of paper that says you can have it. That doesn't necessarily mean you actually should. And so it's like, I think that's the problem with benzos and antidepressants and stuff, is that like most people that are taking them shouldn't be, except for the fact that a doctor told them it's okay.
Yeah.
And I yearn for a time where they try psilocybin first, you know And like if the guy fucking freaks out and, thinks he died or whatever, like then you go, okay, well, there, try this fucking Xanax, I guess. Like it's not gonna
Yeah.
like hurt nothing. Um, but it's like just try the fucking shit that might be a one-time cure-all, or once a year or whatever. Just try that first, and then poison their brain. If that doesn't, if the one time doesn't work, then give them the poison.
It's gonna be weird when that is like the first go-to. If we get it to a time where
Yeah,
like psychedelics are like the first go-to for a lot of issues, like even addiction and stuff like that, it'll be
I know, but
it's gonna be great. It could unravel a lot of other problems too, though.
yeah. But again, it's like I don't think the pharmaceutical industry is ever gonna fucking go along with that. That's gonna be on us. That's gonna be on us telling the story of how it worked for us. And people that resonate with our message, and I'm not saying you and I'm just, the psychedelic community, whatever that message is, if it's machine elves or if it's, you know, microdose guys,
Hmm.
whatever your message is to the psychedelic community, whoever resonates with you, um, I think that it's on us to clearly describe our path, our story, and our results. And um, people will find their way. It doesn't have to be prescribed by a doctor,
Hmm. Yeah,
because the pharmaceutical industry is never going to be behind it, because they want to create patients. They don't want to cure disease. And psychedelics have the extreme possibility of curing several conditions of psychiatric conditions. um
yeah.
the pharmaceutical industry doesn't want to cure anyone. They want to create a customer.
Well, and it's hard to kind of create something like that and charge a ridiculous amount when you can just make it in your own home.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, like there you can't recreate Vicodin or benzos or anything in your own home. You can't just grow it.
yeah,
So it'd be odd if they. I mean, they're already trying to patent it and whatnot, but it's a losing battle. But
yeah,
well, as long as it just becomes widely acceptable and like you were saying, like anecdotally shared to people that might have the issue, like
yeah,
that's the key, and like that's a major part of what we're doing. Is just sharing the stories so that when the story matches what you're going through, you have a different way of looking at it. And you might have a different solution too.
yeah. I mean, it's a matter of getting people to uh you know realize the standard psychiatric path is not going to serve them to the capacity that they will feel satisfied, and to look elsewhere. And it's just always going to be an alternative, I think.
Hmm.
um I don't think it needs to be legalized and regulated, although it will be. I mean, it's like with cannabis. Like, it's great that there's pot shops you can go in and all that or whatever, but you didn't need to fucking do that. I mean, there didn't need to be an economy around it. It didn't need to be a profit thing. We could have treated cannabis like tomatoes.
Yeah.
And so like,
That's
but
a great that's a great quote right there.
right. um, but instead they were like, oh, because they created this monster, that all of a sudden, is illegal for 50, 60, 70 years, whatever it was. And then all of a sudden it's legal. So we got these shops, and there's these cool lights under you know, these jars with all these different strains and names and whatever, and I don't know. It didn't need to be like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool, and I've never been in one of those shops, so maybe that's why I feel that way. And maybe if I did go in one of those shops, it'd be like, never mind, this is fucking awesome. But it's still, it's like it's a fucking plant, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, I think the only reason why those shops are awesome is because that's the only place you can get it, right? So it's like that's obviously you can get it other ways, but that is the only
Yeah,
place you can legally obtain it is a shop like that. So it's like cool in that regard. But if
yeah,
you were to introduce it as a tomato or, you know, just as something along those lines, it would be you wouldn't need like the frilly shit. And like that almost hypes it up. Like that is I never really thought of that, like how it continually like the story of weed being bad for you isn't there as much anymore. Obviously, there's still people that hate it or whatever. But going to the store and having to go to like a separate store, have your ID checked, like all of these like different lines of protocol, like continue to progress that narrative of like it's behind the vault type narrative.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, and mushrooms are the same way. Like it doesn't need to be there doesn't need to be a patent on synthetic psilocybin. Like
Yeah.
it's the easiest home grow thing there is, you know? Like you just
Yeah,
need
yeah.
to like everybody that grows needs to like just kind of not be afraid of it and just like talk about it and erase the stigma the same way we've erased the stigma of smoking weed.
Yeah. We got a lot of people talking about ketamine in in the chat. I don't have any experience with that. Do you have any
I mean,
experience?
well, yeah, I've talked about it before. Like I've snorted it a lot, and actually, like my one of my crazy dorm stories was one of my buddies we like met in a Speedway gas station parking lot and got a vial of Special K that uh, um, someone stole from a veterinary
Oh,
place,
nice. Yeah.
a vet office, and it was like a little vial of clear liquid, and we cooked it in a Tupperware container in the microwave in the common area of the dorms. And so we had like all this powder, and yeah, I snorted it quite a bit for a while. Snorted it at Bonnaroo. I got some, and I don't know. It just never did anything for me. The therapeutic usage I think is probably a lot higher dosage, and obviously uh,
Intravenous.
intravenous.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I think it's great. I mean, the two people we've had on the podcast to talk about it, it's fantastic. Now I will say, on the thing with ketamine, it's a dissociative. It's not a psychedelic, but there is a psychedelic component to being
In that
dissociated.
state. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the same thing that like with nitrous is a dissociative, and I think that's why it helps me when I'm getting anxious on a trip, like adding that dissociative kind of state for a couple minutes is very effective in like being like and so I think that's a really small example of what ketamine therapy is doing for someone in their whole life.
Yeah.
um so I think it's great. I don't think it's anything I need or would try.
No?
uh,
I wouldn't. I don't think I'd mind trying it.
well, yeah, I don't know.
If it would be if there wasn't the wall of like you need to have treatment resistant depression and
Yeah, and the price, like I
well, yeah, yeah.
like I don't feel like I need to pony up the money to do that. Like that, but if if I was like so depressed that I felt like I was going to kill myself, fuck yeah, what's $2,000 or whatever it is in that instance? Like I definitely think people
Yeah.
should pay that. I just mean for me personally, like I don't know. I
Yeah.
I don't I don't feel that bad off. Now, if someone had it and they knew what they were doing and they were like, I mean, I could shoot you up, but I'm not going to charge you. Like, yeah, I would do it.
Maybe you'll find somebody like that. I don't know if I trust that though. But
Yeah, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, no, I think it's great. Now, I don't know if anyone saw the link I posted um on the Discord, but I mean, apparently, and this is just one article. I didn't, triangulate my sources or anything like that. But um, apparently, it's pretty common in like when or when like EMTs show up to like police, like scenes where police have like beat someone up or there's been some sort of altercation, like the sedative they give a
it's
suspect
ketamine,
or
right?
is ketamine.
Yeah. I mean, that's what killed that guy in Aurora, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah. It's
Like
kind of
how
fucked up.
that's really fucked up, you know?
Yeah, especially because that's what veterinarians use to put animals under.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah, it's
think of it
like
in that way. It's
a
like what the
way to
fuck?
dehumanize people. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got. Have you guys ever dabbled with Amanita muscaria? A woman on YouTube said she healed her brain and got off benzos with Amanita tea.
Um,
I never have.
yeah, so it's definitely a mushroom I've found a lot and harvested, and then like I accidentally like I had harvested a whole bunch and then I forgot about it in the trunk of my work car and I didn't dry it out and take it. So I've never taken it. Um, but just going off of I mean what Terrence McKenna says and Food of the Gods about it and just other people, it just doesn't sound interesting to me. Well, it sounds interesting, I guess, but it doesn't sound fun or anything or like beneficial. Um,
Yeah. Well, it's so risky too, right? Isn't
not,
there like a risk to it, like for your own
not,
health?
not real. Yeah. Well, I mean, dose dependent wise, yeah. Like you can't overdose on psilocybin mushrooms, but you could overdose on amanita. And if you don't process it properly, like it'll make you throw up too, like guaranteed. There's a toxin in it that you have to cook out of it and stuff like that. But
Oh, okay.
the active ingredient is muscimol, and it doesn't have psilocybin in it, um, and it is. I think muscimol is classified as a deliriant, so it's not even like a psychedelic or a tryptamine. It's more of like I think it's more. It's definitely more akin to alcohol, as Terrence McKenna puts it. But I think actually, like from a classical like drug classification thing, it's actually more like a Jimson weed, which is,
Mm.
uh, I mean, I know that plant, I see it all over the place, but the experiences and the history of it sound fucking awful, and that is a deliriant as well, and I think that's what muscimol is. Um, but there's a lot of stuff. If you follow, shit, what's his name? Hamilton,
Hamilton
Morris.
Morris. Yeah.
Yeah, he talks about that quite a bit, and he works with some chemists that have created like some other compounds from muscimol, like you know, move stuff around and made new drugs, and those sound very interesting. Um, and I think that is where, uh, and I may be wrong, but Ambien is related to muscimol, which is in uh,
Really?
Amanita muscaria. Yeah, and there's some weird go-between drug that Hamilton talked about, that like he was trying to take to go to sleep when he was in Japan before some like big speech he had to give, and he spent like um the whole night lying semi-awake in his bed watching a black and white cube like reconstruct itself an infinite amount of times. Something weird. I forgot how he put it. It was like, damn, that's that's
That's what Arthur said too. Was when he went like deep on ketamine. There was just like a black. There was just a gray cube.
yeah,
That's weird.
yeah. So, but yeah, no, I've never taken amanita, but I definitely I find it a lot. It's a really common mushroom if you know what trees to look for.
Yeah. Um. Somebody said in the chat that EMTs will get you with ketamine and nitrous in some cities, which I guess I'd never heard of the nitrous portion of that.
The fucking party ambulance right there, man.
Yeah. You just hope to get that one.
Yeah. They're like, do you need any vapor rub?
Oh god. Another guy said that if you find a um, ketamine doctor that's doing a trial, that's the affordable way of
Oh yeah,
attaining.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah, which is awesome. I think that's it though from the chat.
yeah, yeah. No, I, I, I love that. Like, there's more and more stuff coming out about ketamine therapy, and like the
Hmm.
way they're handling it is the way I totally expect psilocybin therapy is going to become mainstream. Um, unfortunately, I think it's going to be the same thing where it's not going to be covered by insurance, and it's going to be expensive and stuff like that. And I think that's also what's going to lead people like, wait a minute, I can find this shit in the woods or pastures
Mm-hmm.
or throw it in my or my closet, and like I think that'll just kind of lead that whole thing to where like it's great that there can be therapists that can help people through those experiences. Um, but I think people that are going to be turned off by the cost of that are going to either find their own or source their own and find a shaman to do the guiding and the work. Much like, I think Arthurus was saying, well, I think both people we had on with ketamine therapy, like the therapist doesn't do much. Like it's the substance in yourself that
Mm-hmm.
fixes the problem, And so like, um, yeah, I think I don't know. I want there to be mainstream psilocybin therapies that people can go to, but I don't want them to be only available to you know upper middle class or middle class people or whatever, um and that's why I hope that the kind of like natural sourcing and natural like kind of experience becomes more appealable just uh, or has more appeal just because of the price of
Mm-hmm.
the therapy sessions,
Yeah. Have you had more people through the quarantine asking you about psychedelics and different ways of dealing with what's been going on?
Not really,
No.
the emails have dried up. And I mean, part of it, a lot of it is, we, the energy we've talked about it before. The energy you put into the system is what comes back to you, and I know I've been working a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, I haven't been putting as much energy into the system as probably should or whatever. But it goes
But I
back to
mean,
what we were
like
talking.
friends or family too. Like, has
Oh,
anybody,
oh, oh,
like
oh, oh.
acquaintances and whatever?
Yeah, no.
No.
Yeah. I,
Um.
I mean, like my friends and family are so caught up in the politics of what's
Uh,
going on right, and so like I'll throw it like I I was on like a group text with like my brother and sister and uncle and mom and who are all psychologists and like I've dropped hints, like while they're like bitching about Trump or whatever, and I've been like, you know, dropped hints about psilocybin mushrooms or psychedelic therapy or whatever, like the shit doesn't matter kind of stuff, and like they just won't even. They're like whatever, they've even just stopped that fucking thread just kind of disintegrated, that text thread, because like they just wanted to rail on. They just wanted to commiserate in their
yeah.
their liberal angst, and they didn't want to hear that I was like trying to get them to look at something else other than that.
We got somebody saying, can we talk about shamanism a little bit? What qualifies somebody as a shaman? And he said, certainly not everyone can be one, right? And then our friend in the woods responded immediately with, yes, anyone can be a shaman. But
Yeah.
what's your take on all that?
Well, it's not my most like kind of researched area, um, but shamanism means something different to lots of different people. What I take from it, like if I'm going off of um, what Graham Hancock talks about in Supernatural, uh, the shaman goes on the journey. The shaman goes to these realms for the good of the community. Um, and that's not always with drugs, right? That's there's shamans that just dance themselves into an
Yeah.
ecstatic state, and there's evil shamans and good shamans, and like every village has a shaman, and then they go to this ethereal plane and fight evil shamans that are cursing, that do uh voodoo dolls and all these things, and they have these poison darts, and like it's just all this like weird supernatural energy work, right? And that seems to be the more like traditional, South American like shaman, right? Is yeah, they sometimes use plants if that's needed. They sometimes use drugs if that's needed. They sometimes, just do whatever to get to that other plane of existence to help out their community. But I think in the Western world, the shaman is like administers they're the medicine man that administers the psychedelic plant or entheogen to someone, and then especially when it comes to like ayahuasca, like performs a ceremony that helps the person have the journey. In that situation, if that's what you're calling a shaman, I just consider that like a hands-on direction of set and setting. They're doing what Terrence and Dennis McKenna like say in every interview they've ever done about how to handle mushrooms, and they're just doing it in their cultural way,
Yeah.
I think so like, and I don't even know if like ayahuasca practitioners consider themselves shamans or not, honestly. So that's why like I'm not as far as the actual terminology shaman, I don't know. To me, a shaman is like someone that is part of the community and is relatable to the other people in the community, but has totally reached like that spiritual enlightenment that probably most people should try to focus on, but don't. And this guy or gal does the work for them by doing all the energy work. And that's what I take as a shaman. But I think it's a very bastardized term.
Yeah, that's the problem with it. Is like, what is that? What
Yeah.
what is
Well,
what makes it up?
right. Well, it's like, I mean, I'm sure, you know, and I've been there, and I'm sure other people, where someone takes like 3 hits of acid, and like their buddy's like, "Whoa, dude, you're like a shaman, man." Like, I mean, it's just a fucking term for like someone that takes a lot of drugs and can handle it, and it's like that's not what it is.
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah. No, I don't. I don't. Do you think anybody can be one, or do you think it's something that you're kind of
well,
like
yeah.
called upon?
Well, okay, no, I guess not anyone.
Yeah,
Yeah. If you're capable of extreme spiritual awakening, yes, but I don't think that everybody is capable of that. I think there's plenty of I mean, I hate to use the term, but NPCs out there,
yeah,
uh, and so like I don't think there's any NPC that could just all of a sudden be like, I'm awoken and now I'm a shaman. Like I think there's just I
yeah.
don't think that's possible, but
Just saying it that plainly too. Yeah, I don't
I
know.
mean, yeah, I don't want to, you know, like you couldn't. Let's put it this way: if you went through like this, I don't want to pick on people that believe in voting, but if you went through the line at the polling place and gave everyone like a heroic dose of mushrooms, not all of them are going to turn into shamans, So yeah,
That'd be a hell of an experiment, though.
yeah,
I wonder if there'd be a lot of votes that came after that. Probably not.
yeah,
They'd
for,
probably just go home.
yeah.
Yeah, we got, in my experience, I have found that shamanistic knowledge fades if you don't consistently revisit a rebirth of some sort.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's where I'm at with psychedelics right now. Is like, if I went back and looked at like videos I made like a year ago or whatever talking about psychedelics, like I'm far from that point, but it's not like I can't go back to it. It's just faded away. And I'm sure after I trip this summer or fall or whatever, I'm gonna have a bunch of videos where I'm like, I was wrong. It's all about mushrooms or whatever, like. But yeah, it is. It's you fall back asleep. Like that's,
That's the
I
stale
hate
energy, man.
it is, and you just start going with the current. Life is a fucking modern life is a fucking lazy river, you know, and you could just float along with everyone else, and form a big chain or whatever, or you can fucking do your own thing. Um, and that's the thing is like I think psychedelics help you kind of do your own thing, but the flow is still going with everyone else. Life is we're all hurtling towards the transcendental object at the end of time. And like so like we're always just going to be getting pushed, and then but the problem is that we can fall into everyone else's narrative of what's really going on and be like, yeah, that guy's right. And psychedelics help you like be like, okay, I'm right. I need to
Yeah.
follow me. I need to follow my narrative.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
in a non like egotistical way.
right.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
best for me? What am I supposed to do, or what will work out best for me? And that narrative, that directive, fades away without either strict discipline to like yoga, meditation,
Strict discipline, yeah.
diet, journaling. But and I know you and I like we like have like waves of that. We're like, yeah, we're
Exactly.
doing really good, and then we're like, fuck it.
Yep.
And psychedelics help kick that all off, of trying to institute that. And I hope that's at the very least. I hope that's what I you know do with all of these podcasts and videos and stuff like that is um, uh, inspire people to institute that discipline in their life to find their own path. And I mean, I don't know. There's such ambiguity in the word shaman. Like maybe that makes me a shaman. I don't know. Maybe just that component of like inspiration to the 15, 20 people that fucking made some life change because of some bullshit I said. I don't know. Can you say that's not a shaman?
Yeah.
you know?
I don't know. That's funny. The stale
Yeah.
energy, man, like that has just been getting to me. That is.
Yeah, and so much of that is like the time though. Like I kind of feel
Yeah.
like both you and I, if 2020 wasn't the fucking turd sandwich that it is, I think like I think we would have, had a lot easier time instituting discipline into our lives.
Yeah. No, that's true.
And
Yeah,
then this
I
year
do
came
think though.
along.
I do think though, like even with discipline, like I think living a life of discipline is something that's like easily admired. Like anybody that does it is like very regarded in high fashion. But for everybody that I don't think anybody it's almost impossible is what I'm trying to get to. Like I think
Yeah.
it's hard that even after a trip that kind of resets your compass and gives you that full gas tank to go for it for like 3 months, you're zooming, you are in your own lane, but at the same time moving with the current. And like that just wears off. And I haven't found somebody that it hasn't worn off for, I guess. And like where they can stay disciplined in all their practices every day.
Yeah.
Um, I don't
Man,
know.
it's life. It's life, man.
Yeah.
And that's one reason like okay, I like cryptocurrency for a lot of different reasons, but I really like studying like the chart and the psychology and expand that out and what it's shown me about other markets and global macro markets and economy and stuff like that. And it's like cycles of boom and bust and up and down, and it's all fractals for human life. And one reason that like so many like most people hate corporations, right?
Hmm.
Like I mean, regardless of how you feel politically, most people are just like, fuck corporations. Well, that's because the central like ideology of a corporation is like always up, always profits every year. You got to make more money than you did before. At all means necessary. Whether that means, dumping fucking oil into pristine wilderness, whatever it doesn't matter. You got to make more money than you did last year. That is in uh that is works against life. Life is up and down, breathe in, breathe out, seasonal change of, winter, summer, like all these things, night, day, everything's, I mean, I guess it's duality, which,
Yeah.
some people would have a problem with, I guess, but still, like, it's just yin and yang, right? I've always been enamored with like that philosophy and how ancient that idea and that philosophy is, and it's so true. Like everything can't always be good, because if you can't contrast it to bad, then good does not exist.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
You know, and so you have to be stagnant in order to feel motivated.
Yeah, that's true.
You have to fail in order to be successful.
It's hard though because you want to be motivated 100% of the time. You
Mhm.
know, you want to
Uh,
maintain that energy 100%,
yeah.
but it's just fleeting.
Mhm. The
Um,
only the only people I've ever known that are able to do that have a military background.
really?
I mean, well, not the only people, but for most people, if you look at like someone who's like just constantly doesn't seem to ever be down, like they're you know very disciplined, eat the same thing every day,
Yeah.
like get up at the same time, run every morning, like they just don't stop that discipline, like they live their life like they were in the military. Um, Now, whether that means they're actually happy doing that, I don't know. But I'm just saying, as far as like sticking to a discipline and a regimen, like
That's true. Yeah.
the only people that can pull it off were in the military. They had it beat into them or whatever it is that the military does to do that.
No, that's true. Um, are the doctors at John Hopkins Western shamans in some way?
Yeah, sure.
Why not?
Well,
Why
yeah, why
not?
not? Well, I mean, it's a new Western shamanism. That's right. Like it's it, like I said, if it's a bastardized word, why can why can't Western doctors doing clinical trials be considered shamans? I mean, they definitely are.
Yeah. Somebody questioned about the transcendental object at the end of time that you mentioned. Does it have something to do with desolation? I'm currently testing a hypothesis that states that DMT is that object.
Desolation. No, I think me personally, like um, so Terrence used it in his like time wave zero, like that there
Mm-hmm.
was like there is time ended somewhere. It already ended, and we're experiencing ripples of like the echo coming back. I think is what, but I don't know, because it was like one of the only things he considered a failure in his life was his whole like period of time wave zero, that it really you know ended up being discredited and like caused a lot of depression for him and stuff like that. But what I take as the transcendental object at the end of time, uh, and this may be the sci-fi nut in me, is that the period where artificial that it were what's the not anomaly, I can't think of the word, but it's like the point where technology can't progress any further and there's just artificial intelligence and no need for like biological life anymore. Like I think it's like life is just heading towards that. Um so if you consider that desolation, yeah, that's pretty desolate.
Yeah.
you know, like but um it's so far away from now, and there's so little we could do about it that I'm not I don't feel any, you know, remorse about that.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't know how like technology can continue improving to a point where we're necessary anymore.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah. Well, I mean,
But
that's
maybe
what.
that's just this planet, like that's the other thing, like we could get say we find another planet in another solar system that all they have is like amoebas. All they got is single cell life. That's where they are on the evolutionary chain. And at that point, by the time we get to another planet where we understand evolution so much, we're like, ooh, they got amoebas. We know what happens next. We can move this along.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what happened on this planet, and we move on or whatever. And so like there's that, like life could be a circle. It's not always a line.
Yeah, I like the circle approach to it.
Yeah.
uh, the follow-up comment on that was, didn't Jesus talk about the object in Matthew 24:15? I feel like you would know that. I don't know that. Do you know that?
I don't know. I
Oh,
think it was
okay. I just know you're super into
Matthew
religion.
25:420. I don't know. I don't know any Bible like
Matthew
number.
4:26:9.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think Jesus was an alien, though.
Oh, okay. What's your take
Yeah.
on that?
He was either an alien or a shaman. Like it was just a fucking dude who was ahead of his time, and you just play out human history following that, and it's like he's revered as this religious figure. I don't know. I don't think I was talking about when we talked with Chris. Did we talk about the show The Orville?
No.
Okay, good. All right. So the show The Orville is a sci-fi show. It's kind of like a comedy, Star Trek. Seth MacFarlane from Family Guy.
Okay,
He's
yeah.
on.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and they have this episode where like the one of the characters, like they go to this, there's this planet that like blinks in and out of like their dimension every randomly or whatever, and then like this planet blinks in and they're like, well, let's go down and see what's on there, and they go and they're like in like caveman age or biblical times kind of thing, and this girl is hurt, and because they're space people, they or Star Trek kind of people, they have healing ray things, and she heals this lady or this little girl, and then goes back up to the ship, and then the planet disappears. And then when the planet reappears, they're like, oh, let's go down, and they're like, oh, our ship's computers have analyzed that time is 1,000 years in the future from the last time you were down there, by the way, and they're like, oh, okay. And she goes down, and there's like religions based on her, with statues of like this, her holding up this healing ray and stuff like that. And then so like the whole episode is like she keeps going back in like this religion, and like she goes back the third time, and like they're fighting wars in her name and like all of these things, and it's like it was just this visitor that healed someone, and then like the chain reaction that happened from that can be the whole course of and where I relate that to Jesus is like, yeah, what if Jesus was just like a visitor that came and could walk on water, and had some device that could like change water into wine, and all of these like supernatural things that Jesus does, and then went away, or they killed him or whatever, and then you just unravel human history for however many years.
Yeah.
And you've got this religion that feels like it's got so much weight to it, but it really doesn't, because there's just this one dude that came from another planet or was ahead of his time, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a good take.
Yeah.
That's a good take. Either that or that one guy that thinks that he was just a mushroom.
Yeah, I can do that too. I mean,
we'll never know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like the message of Christianity is perfectly fine,
Mm.
Christ preached peace, love, and understanding. It's the same thing that like I feel that like that's what humanity thrives on. It's anger, jealousy, and greed that destroy humanity. And there's a lot of anger, jealousy, and greed that gets carried out in the name of a man who apparently preached peace, love, and understanding.
Yeah. Or a religion that did it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to get into tonight, man?
No. Well, I haven't even looked. Oh, we're like an hour and a half. We can wrap it up. yeah, it was. Thanks for all the questions, everyone. I'm glad people popped in.
Mm-hmm.
Little impromptu. We didn't give much of a warning, but it was good to talk to you. I just wanted to get back on. We hadn't recorded in a while. I think we're gonna revisit some past guests
Mm-hmm.
in the next couple weeks. As always, if anyone wants to come on and talk and uh, you know lead us in a direction or talk about a story or whatever, hit us up. It helped find the others at protonmail.com. The emails have kind of dried up a little, and there's not many new guests on the horizon. Um, but we want to keep putting out content and talking, and um, you know, I don't know. I hope everyone is having a good summer
Mm-hmm.
and staying safe. Um, it's a scary world out there, but I hope everyone that's tuned into our energies is doing all right.
Yeah, and if there is anybody out there that just wants to come on and just bullshit, talk a discussion, like there doesn't need to be an interview. I love it when it's just bullshitting, just like some
Yeah.
friends. We're super open to any topics, so I hope after this, some of you guys reach out. It's just like you said, help find the others at protonmail.com. You could also find the Discord link in the description of this video. You also get it on the description of the podcast, and join us there, and we'll keep going with these.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Have a good night, man.
Yep.